So from the one tour, the next year, he personally escorted like 3. And then the next year, so many people signed up. He had to get other tour leaders that he chose carefully, young men, of course, in graduate school.
So Phil came up with this wonderful idea that he would get these graduate students that looked good on paper, that did all the right things, that every mother would be thrilled to, who would watch over her precious child. And he would get these graduate students to take tours to Europe. We have teased about this because there are tour leaders who could never re-enter after these summers because it was a fairy tale, you know, all summer long. And so then they would come back and have to get into reality.
And the girls always fell in love with them. I mean, it was a given that if you were going to be an Osborne tour leader, you'd probably only last 1 year because you would come home and get married to one of the girls on your tour.
We even had one that was engaged and married on the flight deck of a TWA plane coming back. Talked the guy into it. Of course, it wasn't a technical wedding, but he played it that way. He got home to this girl's family. They said, well, I've married your daughter. And they said, you can't. You haven't been anywhere since then, except in Europe. I said, well, we did it on the plane. Oh, my God. So, but that's okay. Nobody was hurt, except Daddy.
There are a lot of things that happened on those tours that could never be repeated. I mean, no, I don't mean I can talk about them, but they're just once in a lifetime. It was the time and the place and the people and the things that happened. Our memories, no one will ever experience things that way again. We were lucky.
One of the most beautiful places in Italy, at least it was back in the 70s, was the Isle of Capri, you know, which is an expensive place to go. And it wasn't good enough for Phil that you just went to Capri. You stayed at the Hotel Luna, which was something that was out of dreamland, you know, this beautiful, beautiful hotel with the terrace overlooking this blue ocean. And here we are, these college girls, staying in this fabulous hotel, and then only Phil would work it out. There was a local there. His name was Gennarino Alberino, and he was something else. He was Italian, and he had his sexy bathing suit, and he had his boat, and he would get the girls would go, and Gennarino would take us around the island, in and out of all the grottos, and we could swim off the boat and do all of these things. Well, of course, Gennarino became a legend, too. So Phil always had those little things going on, see? So you'd go see a museum one place, and then after he knew you had had enough of that, he was brilliant enough to work it out that the next stop would be Capri, where you got in the boat with Gennarino and looked at the grottos. Except we were looking at Gennarino. I think he actually married one of the girls, as a matter of fact.
He had a guide, Gennarino, that would dive off the cliffs. Some of us dove off the same cliffs, and a lot of it was probably pretty dangerous, but that was the most fun.
What Phil did was have invitations printed. He booked the hotel in Rome, booked the ballroom. It was a great hotel, wonderful hotel. And he arranged the itineraries so that all the tours were going to end up in Rome at the same time. And he gave each girl 5 or 6 of these engraved invitations. And when they were in Europe, they were to give these invitations out to people they met that would come to Rome for the party. So each one of them gave them, of course, to men with titles, or handsome, or rich, or whatever.
And Phil had this horrible fear that nobody would show up. And he even lectured us. When he was on the tour a day or two ahead, he would say, you know, You've got to make sure that if there's nobody there, you invite the girls to dance, and don't just dance with your tour dance. I mean, just instructing us about how to entertain them and what we're going to do. And he was talking about making up skits or something to entertain the ladies or whatever. And when I got there, I couldn't even get in the ballroom for all the people in there.
And the room was full of counts and dukes and no counts, and it was amazing.
People from all over Europe showed up for that ball, and it was quite a party.
We had full-scale dinner dancing, stayed until 3 or 4 in the morning. We'd have at 3 o'clock breakfast in the middle of the ballroom. And then we ended up in the Trevi Fountain. We took a walk there, and there was probably, I guess, close to 100 of us in the Trevi Fountain.
My sister went on that one, the famous one with the party in Rome. It was wonderful. But it turned out that he lost money for the year because they had so much fun. It made the sales grow the next year, but he couldn't do the party, so they never did that again. That's when he got George, an old school friend who was good with money, finances. He got George, and it's different as night and day. And he said, George, you come work with me and keep these books. Phil's the one with the ideas. He's the helium that heats that balloon up, and off it starts going. And you know what we can do? Well, this is a great idea. Why don't we? And George would get the string on the balloon and go, good idea, but this is what we can do. And he'd pull it down. And they met somewhere in the middle and made a very good success of it.